I'm joined with Dr. Jim Reecy with Iowa State University, and Dr. Reecy was a speaker at the SDSU Extension Seedstock Symposium held in Sioux Falls recently. And Dr. Reecy spoke about genetic susceptibility and resistance to that. And I was going to ask him a few questions about what he shared with the producers today in regards to that topic. And first of all, you talked a little bit about field data and how that carries over to resistance and genetic susceptibility. If you could talk about how that works.
For any trait that we want to try to make a genetic change in, we have to collect phenotype. Without the phenotype, we can't make a genetic selection. And in the case of disease, you either can become more resistant or you could become more susceptible. And using field data is the way that we can estimate that. And in terms of whether it was weaning weight that we have used for decades or disease resistance, we can do the same thing with field data.
Okay, great. And you talked a lot about BRD, one of the major diseases that has had such a negative impact economically in the industry. Can you expand a little bit more about what you told the producers in regards to that and resistance and disease resistance that you're learning about that?
So bovine respiratory disease is the single largest negative impact on the beef cattle industry today. Somewhere between $750 million and $1 billion lost every year. And one of the things that we're trying to work with in the project is, can we identify EPDs or molecular markers that could be used to select for less respiratory disease and therefore recoup some of those negative impacts that have affected the industry for decades.
And as a producer in South Dakota or in the Midwest, what are some other things that they management tools or things that you have studied in regards to disease resistance that they can implement in their daily production practices?
It's a wonderful question. Actually, most of the impact that you have on respiratory disease or pink eye infection, most of it is due to environmental variation. So removing those stresses, so weaning the calf will have a negative impact on it. What do you do to minimize the amount of stress, the year-to-year variation, were they wet, were they cold, things like that? If we can do that to remove that stress, we should be able to decrease the incidence of these diseases that we would physically observe. So in some respects, we have to do a better job of the management than what we've been doing, if at all possible.
Well, that sounds like a great take-home message to producers. Do you have any other final take-home message that you shared with folks at the symposium today that you would like to share with the listeners on the podcast?
We have great opportunities as long as we can collect that information and get it back to the producers in the hands where they can physically use it. Life will be really quite good for the future.
Well, thank you very much for being one of our speakers at the Genetic Seedstock Symposium in Sioux Falls. And more information about the symposium and the presentations can be found at www.igrow.org.